Chapter 1072, The Dominance of Bloodlines. Chapter 1072, The Dominance of Bloodlines. The battle formation relies on the fusion of the bloodline powers of all 9 of them. There were rumors that there existed 2 bloodlines in the ancient monster clan. More than 9/10 of the clan was of the heavenly demon bloodline, the bloodline which powers and potentials have been greatly, if not fully, awakened. But the one other bloodline, which is rarer even among their kin, is the ancient god bloodline. Bearers of the ancient god bloodline command great power and potential as well. But there have only a handful of them who have been known to bear this very bloodline and have begun to awaken its powers. Hence, I would hazard that the 9 ancient god guardians are, in fact, Tao masters who have awakened the bloodline of the ancient god. The voice was issued from the midst of the crowd of warriors watching the battle, although none knew whom. But the narration had shed much light that many finally understood what was going on. The celestial master Ku Shin stood in the midst of the horde of the ancient monster clan, his face grave and sullen. The battle formation of ancient gods is also an heirloom that has been passed down through generations since the birth of the ancient monster clan. It is one of our most potent secret weapons which has invincible might and power. Unfortunately, only those who have awakened the ancient god bloodline is able to wield it. The kins of the ancient monster clan have always been predominantly of the heavenly demon bloodline. It is a pity that we have only so few kinsmen who bore the bloodline of the ancient gods even after years and years of our painstaking efforts. Only 6 of our Tao masters. If only we have more Tao masters in the clan who bear this mighty bloodline, we would have been able to conquer even the 3 principal populations of this continent with the help of this battle formation. The gaze of the celestial master Ku Shin turned frosty. It is a pity indeed, to have so few of our kin to have awakened the ancient god bloodline, the celestial master thought quietly. As one of the 4 principal populations of the Samsara continent, the ancient monster clan commanded immense strength which forces were largely bolstered by the horde of Tao masters the clan was proud to have. Then again, from the innumerable horde of their Tao masters, the ancient monster clan has but only 6 of their kin who have awakened the bloodline of the ancient gods. The battle formation would have been stronger if the clan was able to field more Tao masters with the ancient god bloodline. But with only 6 Tao masters, the power of the battle formation would barely reach the strengths of a celestial master. Hence, so as to prepare themselves for this confrontation, the ancient monster clan have exhausted much of their resources to elevate another 3 eternal realm warriors to the ranks of Tao masters in order to assemble the force of the 9 ancient god guardians. With the combined powers of the 9, the battle formation of ancient gods was able to reach a greater limit. This battle formation is remarkable too. Jian Nantian grinned thinly as he observed the formation before him. But a figure stepped before him before he could act. "Leave this to me, father," Jian Wushuang said calmly. "Oh." Jian Nantian's brows twitched curiously. He nodded at once. He withdrew further to the back. Jian Wushuang raised his head and looked up at the gargantuan figure of the ancient god which was conjured by the battle formation. A 4-star silver-armored ancient god. Jian Wushuang smirked, channeling his bloodline powers. Jian Wushuang's body began to grow rapidly, rising up into great heights that he almost filled the space between sky and earth. His height rose close to 1,000 meters tall, dwarfing even the silver-armored ancient god which was only a meager few hundreds of meters tall. Like a huge mountain, Jian Wushuang's monstrous figure, although still clad in his blood-red robes, shone with a luster of gold. But the debate and attention of everyone watching the fight were upon his forehead. As clear as the glittering stars in a dark night, upon Jian Wushuang's forehead were the symbols of 3 reversed quadrangular stars. Despite being only 3, the quadrangular stars were all shining with sparkles of dark golden luminance. Jian Wushuang's dark golden eyes looked into the air as they flared with rage from within. Roar! A furious roar thundered from his throat, releasing a shockwave that rippled forth as the echoes of his booming voice trembled through the air as if they would never fade. With his deafening roar, Jian Wushuang had also released a burst of his enormous bloodline powers that swept forth towards the figure of the ancient god of the battle formation with the force of a powerful storm. The 100 feet tall figure of the ancient god shivered slightly, showing signs of imminent collapse. The 9 ancient god guardians who were strenuously sustaining the battle formation immediately felt a huge pressure pummeling at them, a powerful force that could have only came from bloodline powers. It was a pressure so terrible and unstoppable, an overwhelming force that battered ceaselessly and furiously at the bloodline they bore. Deng, 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 deng. Forced by the powerful shockwave, the figure of the lesser ancient god lost its footing finally, staggering a few steps backward at being driven by the strong tide. This left everyone who was watching the battle awestruck and speechless, including the warriors of the ancient monster clan. What is happening? It is the dominance in the hierarchy, the relationship of superiority and inferiority between their bloodlines. Jian Wushuang possesses too the bloodline of the ancient gods. But his bloodline is purer and stronger than that of the warriors of the ancient monster clan that sustained the battle formation. Everyone present could only gulp hard with disbelief. Much excitement was stirred in ancient monster clan. Dark Golden. A dark golden ancient god. Is this the legendary imperial ancient god? Is this even possible? In spite of their combined effort, the 9 ancient god guardians can only summon a silver-armored ancient god. But Jian Wushuang bears the bloodline of the imperial ancient gods. Who was the foolish wretch who had sneered that Jian Wushuang was only born with only a lowly bloodline? Lowly? Nay. This is the bloodline of the imperial ancient god. A variant of the ancient god bloodline of the highest order. There have still been a number of the kins of the ancient monster clan who had been able to invoke the bloodline of the ancient gods, but none have been known to have achieved a bloodline of such excellence. Jian Wushuang's bloodline is undoubted the purest ancient god bloodline even in the ancient monster clan. With the bloodline of such greatness, alas, he should have been one of our kin, one of the ancient monster clan. Riotous roars and angry cries rose from the midst of the warriors of the ancient monster clan. Silence. The celestial master Ku Xin snarled, not being able to hold back his rage finally. However, even he was extremely shocked himself despite his best efforts to silence his emotions. The celestial master's eyes glared sharply ahead. Be that as it may, he is merely a 3-star ancient god. A strength with equals only the class of Tao Master. The ancient god of the battle formation is an ancient god of 4 stars. There is no doubt that our ancient god wields greater strength than Jian Wushuang. Strike now. Battle formation of ancient gods. The celestial master Ku Xin shouted at once. Faithful to his commands, the hulking silver-armored ancient god of the battle formation began to move. Dong, dong, dong. The silver-armored ancient god leaped into action, its every step spanning almost 500 kilometers as it sped at Jian Wushuang. As it rushed at its quarry, its aura began to rise, mounting higher and higher as it gradually reached its peak. A 4-star silver-armored ancient god. Let us put our strengths to a test then. Jian Wushuang growled, his eyes glowing with a yearn for blood. He too threw himself forward, rushing forward to meet his adversary. The 2 gigantic behemoths, each radiating with destructive auras from their bloodline powers, charged forward. At the center of the site of their battle, the 2 titanic beings crashed into each another. Chapter 1073 Battle of Ancient Gods. Chapter 1073 Battle of Ancient Gods. With a rumbling snort, Jian Wushuang channeled his ancient god powers that began to accumulate in his right fist. A faint golden glow surrounded his fist. Without warning, his fist smote forth, releasing all the powers held within. The silver-armored ancient god, conjured by the battle formation of ancient gods, threw a powerful punch of its own. The 2 gigantic fists clashed, fists hit head to head. With brute force reciprocated with brute force, the 2 fists met. Such was the contest of feral ferocity. Bang! With a huge bang, the massive forces wielded by them both erupted like a powerful detonation. The air surrounding the frightening crash was distorted by the sheer force that their clashing fists had caused. A long and huge space rift, an anomaly in the continuum of time and space, tore open immediately, spreading like the diaphanous webs of spiders, and began to stretch for thousands of kilometers wide. The resultant effects of the first bout of their gargantuan showdown had shuddered and unrattled everyone watching the battle, as many kept their breaths held nervously. In the thick of the action at the sight of their battle, Jian Wushuang's expression turned heavy as he was thrown backward, careening away for more than a few steps. But the silver-armored ancient god lurched only took 3 steps away. How is this possible? The host of warriors of the ancient demon clan were all surprised and astonished. The silver-armored ancient god conjured by the 9 ancient god guardians was of the level of 4 stars when Jian Wushuang, in spite of bearing the bloodline of the imperial ancient god, was nevertheless only a 3-star ancient god. It was expected that he would be outmatched in strength. But Jian Wushuang had shown himself only to be slightly lesser in terms of raw power. What many did not notice was that Jian Wushuang was wearing his blood-killing plate armor. The plate armor had helped increase his powers by more than tenfold, elevating his strength to the levels of a celestial master. "Here I come again," Jian Wushuang bellowed, hardly defeated by the failure of his first attempt to put down his foe. His colossal figure once again pushing forward for another attack. Likewise, the silver-armored ancient god conjured by the battle formation rushed forward too. The huge giants sped towards each other for the second bout of their fight. Bang! 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 Without using his skills of swordsmanship, Jian Wushuang engaged his adversary in a melee fist fight, showing the entire plethora of his skills in hand-to-hand close-quarters combat. Having spent some time among the ancient god clan, he was no stranger to scuffles and skirmishes against the ilk of ancient gods. Hence he was well familiar with their way and fashion of combat. Even without the use of any weapons, he could easily unleash his ancient god powers. But the same could not be said for the ancient god conjured by the 9 god guardians. Even though the 9 god guardians have awakened the bloodline of the ancient gods, they were neither skilled nor accustomed to the methods ancient gods fought. Most importantly, the 3 hastily added Dao masters were hardly acquainted with working cohesively with the other 6 in the battle formation. The lack of chemistry between them all could hardly unleash the greatest potential of the powerful battle formation. Despite wielding strengths that equaled to a celestial master of moderate proficiency, the flaws of the 9's unity hindered the ancient god of their conjuration to only 7/10 of its true strength. Furthermore, Jian Wushuang's more superior imperial ancient god bloodline had been affecting the 9 ancient divine guard, inflicting upon them a tormenting agony. Hampered and crippled from reaching true power, the silver-armored ancient god fell into a great disadvantage in the battle. Ha ha ha! Begone you! Jian Wushuang emitted a huge roaring laughter, taking a huge stride with a spring in his step and dashed closer to the silver-armored ancient god. He rammed into the torso of the ancient god with his shoulder, throwing it off its feet as it fell backward. Despite having the powers of a 4-star silver-armored ancient god, it was not being able to fully display its strength. This is turning into an uninteresting fight. Jian Wushuang shook his head, losing his interest to continue the duel. Without any more desire to tarry longer with the silver-armored ancient god, Jian Wushuang's eyes glared with a sharp flash, mustering his ancient god power upon his right index finger. There were, nonetheless, great differences between the simulated strengths of an ancient god and Jian Wushuang, who has the powers of a true ancient god. These included the skills and techniques of combat, the chemistry, and cohesiveness among the members manning the battle formation, as well as the ultimate skills and secret skills of the ancient gods. With enough powers accumulated in his forefinger, Jian Wushuang thrust his finger forward swiftly. The first finger of ancient gods, barrier breaking, Jian Wushuang's voice thundered as he cast forth his stroke. A gigantic golden finger with an aura so powerful and terrifying fell from the sky. The giant golden finger seemed as if it had traveled through time from the ancient past, bearing a presence both staggering and archaic, immediately smiting heavily upon the silver-armored ancient god. The silver-armored ancient god mustered all the ancient god power it could swiftly call upon, trying to strike at the finger in an act of defiance. Yet, still, there came a huge boom that was followed by a deathly silence. The silver-armored ancient god was being sent flying into the air by the force of the stroke. As it fell and collapsed, the ancient god powers it held instantly plummeted, the conjuration was clearly faltering. The 9 ancient god guardians crumbled, each of them spatting mouthfuls of blood themselves. Unable to withstand Jian Wushuang's assault, the silver-armored ancient god's aura immediately plunged, the last ounces of its strength and vigor on the verge of disintegrating. It is still intact after suffering a blow from me? Jian Wushuang sneered. He began to accumulate more ancient god powers into his right forefinger once more. Let us see if it can suffer another stroke from me. Malice and wrath flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Seeing this, the celestial master Ku Xin could wait no longer. With a dismal frown, he called, "Strike fast, Dong Ming. The battle formation of ancient gods is faltering." Me. Standing beside celestial master Ku Xin, celestial master Winter Whistleface fell in dismay. Leaping into the fight to help the 9 ancient god guardians now would only show that the ancient monster clan was fighting unfairly. It would turn into a clear contest of numbers. But celestial master Winter Whistle knew better than to hesitate. The urgency of the situation demanded his immediate intervention. Whoosh! Celestial master Winter Whistle transformed into a scarlet flash of light, lunging forward dangerously as speedily as he could. Hey! Jian Wushuang had raised his right forefinger, ready to inflict the final blow to destroy the silver-armored ancient god and claim his victory, when he noticed the red flash of light dashing towards him speedily. Celestial Master Winter Whistle? Jian Wushuang's lips curled into a grin. Uneasy murmurs and agitated cries arose from the midst of the warriors watching at the battle. Is that Celestial Master Winter Whistle? Does he intend to join in the fight? The battle formation of ancient gods has possessed a Celestial Master's battle strength. The addition of Celestial Master Winter Whistle would only become a contest of numbers. Jian Wushuang is nevertheless a warrior who is only of the eternal realm. This is hardly unreasonable that the ancient monster clan intends to react as thus. Do you seriously think the Jian Wushuang is still of the eternal realm? Look at him. He is already a 3-star ancient god. That would mean he has the powers of at least a Dao master. The whispers and murmurs in the crowd turned into an audible chatter of discussion from the sight of the battle. Yet, Jian Wushuang beamed cheerfully. So be it then, you can come at me together. As he finished, Jian Wushuang's aura soared immediately and his trusty blade, the Blood Mountain sword, appeared in his hand. Chapter 1074, 2 original bodies show up together. Chapter 1074, 2 original bodies show up together. Turning into a scarlet flowing light, Celestial Master Winter Whistle appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, while silver-armored ancient god approached from a different direction. The 2 holy masters combined their battle strength, but Jian Wushuang was not afraid at all. When the battle intent was skyrocketing, he took a step and drew a blood moon in the void with the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. All those were finished in a flash. Celestial Master Winter Whistle was holding a saber. Before he could take any action, the blood moon drawn by Jian Wushuang had drawn near. How could it be so fast? Celestial Master Winter Whistle was slightly surprised, and he waved the saber immediately. The blade light swept across the void like a thunderbolt. The explosive power of it smashed the void after meeting Jian Wushuang's sword light. 9 waves. Celestial Master Winter Whistle spoke coldly, and then he let out a chilly blade light. The ripples spread toward Jian Wushuang, and he felt as if he was being drawn into the deepest sea. That's so weird. Jian Wushuang frowned. He could feel that the ripples were actually layers of chilly blade light. The blade light was surging toward him endlessly like crazy, which was extremely weird. Jian Wushuang had to resort to his sharp sword. The power of 3-sword principle was put into full play. Clang, 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 clang. 9 crashes sounded one after another, and the 9 crashes were completed in the blink of an eye. Under the impact, Jian Wushuang himself was forced to take a step back. At this moment, a chilly wind came to Jian Wushuang's ears. He turned his head immediately and saw that silver-armored ancient god formed from battle formation had appeared behind him. A tough fist punched the back of his head. Jian Wushuang turned around suddenly, and there was a cold flash in his eyes. The Blood Mountain sword struck like lightning. This sword was the Death Shadow sword. Although the echo of the sword had just spread, the consciousness attack already exerted power on the silver-armored ancient god and then passed on to the 9 ancient god guards in no time. The 9 ancient god guards were merely at the level of Tao Master. Suffering the consciousness attack, all of them became unconscious. Silver-armored ancient god stopped moving as well. Get lost. Jian Wushuang's sword swept across silver-armored ancient god's arm and cut off a large piece of flesh formed from ancient god power. He then kicked him away and the huge silver-armored ancient god immediately flew backward. As soon as Jian Wushuang repelled silver-armored ancient god, he found that a silent blade light had appeared by his side. Jian Wushuang's pupils contracted. The blade light came so quickly and quietly that he did not have enough time to fend against it with his sword. He could hardly hold the Blood Mountain sword at his chest. Clang! The blade light crushed on the Blood Mountain sword, and a terrible force was passed on Jian Wushuang. Suddenly he was knocked back. Jian Wushuang was unable to steady himself until he had been flung back 10,000 li. Raising his head again, he saw Celestial Master Winter Whistle standing side by side with silver-armored ancient god, both of whom had an extremely strong aura. I was being negligent. When the 2 medium holy masters combine their battle strength, indeed I cannot withstand them. Jian Wushuang smiled. He knew that at this moment, even if he was facing a medium holy master, it would be strenuous for him. Whether he could win or not was uncertain. However, it was beyond his ability to win against the 2 medium holy masters who had joined hands. I cannot withstand them alone, but what if there were 2 of me? Jian Wushuang sniggered secretly. As he moved his body, a black-robed figure appeared by his side. The countenance and aura were exactly the same as Jian Wushuang's. It was his slaughter body. Is that a doppelganger? All the experts looked at Jian Wushuang, and some of them frowned. Usually, the doppelganger was no match for the original body in terms of strength. The strength of Jian Wushuang's original body was in defiance of the natural order, and it was comparable to that of a medium holy master. However, they did not believe that Jian Wushuang's doppelganger was also in defiance of the natural order. Normally, the doppelganger of Jian Wushuang had the battle strength of a Dao master at most, but relying on a Dao master's battle strength, he was not even qualified to join such a battlefield. Jian Wushuang sensed that the people who were watching were astonished and doubtful. He sneered, not caring about their reaction. How could those people know his ability when they were ignorant of the heavenly creation skill and the potential of inverse cultivation? Buzz! As the vast aura rose, the bloodline power of Jian Wushuang's slaughter body surged furiously. The next moment he turned into a huge dark gold ancient god. At the same time, the flowing lights went out of Jian Wushuang's interspatial ring. There were a total of 72 flowing lights. The flowing lights combined perfectly in the void and then turned into a purple lightsaber. The lightsaber was the result of Jian Wushuang's perfect practice of the second step of Ninth Heaven Sword formation. My slaughter body has the same battle strength as my world body. The difference is that my world body possesses 2 treasures, namely the blood-killing plate armor and the Blood Mountain sword, which enable my strength to reach a new level. Jian Wushuang had a dignified expression. Blood-killing plate armor and Blood Mountain sword had a great impact on his strength. However, he could only provide the 2 treasures to his original body. The slaughter body is not equipped with blood-killing plate armor or Blood Mountain sword. However, resorting to the top 3-star Imperial Kinsman's ancient god power, combined with the Ninth Heaven Sword formation, the battle strength will reach the Holy Master level. In addition to Ancient God's killing strategy, he is competent enough to fight against silver-armored Ancient God. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed sharply. His rivals were Celestial Master Winter Whistle and silver-armored Ancient God. Celestial Master Winter Whistle had reached the solid battle strength of a medium Holy Master, which was no weaker than Celestial Master Lei Yi. However, silver-armored Ancient God was not able to fully exert his strength, hence he was weaker than Celestial Master Winter Whistle. My world body's battle strength was stronger than that of Celestial Master Winter Whistle. A quarter of an hour would be enough for me to defeat him. Jian Wushuang glanced at his slaughter body. It is just a quarter of an hour, I will handle it, the slaughter body nodded. Let's start. Jian Wushuang muttered, and immediately the 2 original bodies moved at the same time. Die. Celestial Master Winter Whistle had a gloomy complexion. As soon as Jian Wushuang's 2 original bodies moved, He rushed toward them along with silver-armored ancient god. Soon, the two sides clashed with each other head to head. Jian Wushuang held the Blood Mountain sword with soaring sword essence. He blocked Celestial Master Winter Whistle, and produced a shining sword light to strike him. The slaughter body had a cold expression. He was gathering enormous ancient god power in his hand and applied the ancient god first finger, which struck silver-armored ancient god. Suddenly, there was a sharp and piercing wind-breaking sound. The purple lightsaber exerted by the ninth heaven sword formation also struck its object with breathtaking speed. Chapter 1075, Defeat. Chapter 1075, Defeat. The shining sword light carried the terrifying power of the sun. This was Heaven's bane of the creative Scarlet Yang sword principle that Jian Wushuang had tailored for himself. As the terrific power burst, Celestial Master Winter Whistle wielded his saber instantly. The saber technique was also outrageous. After the two powers collided, Celestial Master Winter Whistle quivered and sank slightly. 9 waves. Celestial Master Winter Whistle displayed the creepy saber technique again. Jian Wushuang felt as if he was floating in the sea and the endless waves were striking him again and again. One force break all techniques, break it now. Jian Wushuang had cold eyes and a ferocious expression. Suddenly the power of the Blood Mountain sword in his hand skyrocketed. It was still Heaven's bane, but this time, the power was clearly greater. Bump. The endless waves were pushed to either side, and the whole sea seemed to be completely split into 2 halves. How could it be? Celestial Master Winter Whistle was astonished. Jian Wushuang then took a step and the Death Shadow sword swept across like lightning. On the other side, Jian Wushuang's slaughter body was in a fierce fight with silver-armored ancient god. Both of them had a huge body, however, without blood-killing plate armor, the slaughter body was less powerful than silver-armored ancient god. While he kept fighting against silver-armored ancient god, he could only rely on the killing strategies and combine them with the ninth heaven sword formation. The ninth heaven sword formation was ferocious and had an amazing speed. It trapped silver-armored ancient god in a short time. The two battlefields were fierce. Onlooking experts in the distance were shocked. Boy! Is this the actual strength of Jian Wushuang? It's spectacular. Jian Wushuang is so strong. Both the original body and the doppelganger are so aggressive. Although his ancient god power had reached 3rd star level, his cultivation of spiritual power was only in the eternal realm. His battle strength is already so strong. How would it be when he becomes a Tao master? Jian Wushuang has already carved out his own path, and there is more than one, but he hasn't reached Tao master. What is he planning? He wants to be stronger. When he reaches the level of Tao master one day, he will have greater strength and potential. This guy is really a monster. Exclamations were heard from the onlookers. Jian Wushuang's strength made everyone witnessing the battle exclaim. He was too dazzling. Such an exceptional genius. The strength he showed did not seem to be in the eternal realm. It was hard to believe that a guy who was only about 2,000 years old could possess such strength. This guy. Jian Nantian had been standing silently in the void, looking at the battlefield ahead. He had been watching from the start. Though he looked indifferent and serene, a trace of a smile was concealed in his heart. He was obviously proud that his son had so much strength at such a young age. Schwanger is much more outstanding than I am. There are many things that I am not able nor eligible to achieve, but he is. I still have Menge, who is also his concern and will impose an impact on his growth. When this event comes to an end, I will travel across the green fire world with Menge and live a peripatetic life without any concern. It'll be up to him how far he could go. Jian Nantian had much expectation of Jian Wushuang's future. He knew very well that his own potential had been suppressed too much in his junior period, which damaged his foundation. He had lost the ability to mount to the peak of the eternal chaotic world, but Jian Wushuang would be able to achieve it. Jian Nantian shook his head and did not think much about it. His eyes turned cold again, and then he glanced at Celestial Master Ku Xin in the camp of the ancient monster clan. As if sensing Jian Nantian's gaze, Celestial Master Ku Xin looked straight back at him. Jian Nantian moved. Step by step, he moved forward slowly. Each step caused some ripples in the void as if tablets of stone were dropped into a lake. The ripples kept expanding. The entire world was in complete silence. Aside from Jian Wushuang, who was in a heated fight with Celestial Master Winter Whistle and silver-armored Ancient God, all of the experts were attracted by the ripples. They could not stop looking at Jian Nantian. Jian Nantian was indifferent and detached before, but now he had changed. He had completely changed. Under everyone's gaze, he turned from a mass of air into a lofty sword mountain emitting enormous sword essence. The sword mountain looked like an antiquity that had existed since the ancient times. It reflected the vicissitudes of life and was lofty, illuminating the whole world like a red sun. Everyone was staring at the sword mountain, and each of them had amazement in their eyes. What kind of skill is it? That was a grotesque and unique scene. It's the principle, it's the sword principle. What sword principle is it, exactly? It makes me feel so weird. Everyone looked at Jian Nantian in fright. Celestial Master Ku Xin was also staring at Jian Nantian from the ancient monster clan. He had astonishment in his eyes. Is the strongest sword principle one of the 3 principles that Jian Nantian has cultivated? The strongest sword principle. Celestial Master Ku Xin's heart skipped a beat when he heard those 4 words. That was the legendary principle. Throughout the history of the whole Green Fire world, there were only a few people who could cultivate the strongest sword principle. Ordinary people could never cultivate the strongest sword principle. How could Jian Nantian have cultivated the strongest sword principle when he was only about 2,000 years old? Impossible, that's impossible. Celestial Master Ku Xin shook his head madly. It took him a while to calm down. At this moment, Jian Nantian, still under the gaze of everyone, stopped moving. He stood in front of Celestial Master Ku Xin, and the distance between the 2 men was less than 100 li. It was such a short distance that Jian Nantian could cover it with 1 step. Celestial Master Ku Xin, play your tricks, Jian Nantian said coldly. Celestial Master Ku Xin's pupils contracted slightly. He had come fully prepared this time in order to cope with Jian Nantian and Jian Wushuang, and had lots of trump cards ready to use. Clan Defending Formation and Ancient God Tactical Formation, for example, were just 2 of the trump cards. They were just the tip of the iceberg in the Ancient Monster Clan. If nothing else, his existence was a sky-supporting pillar in the Ancient Monster Clan. The battle strength of a Celestial Master's exceptional realm would not be easily exceeded. This old man wants to see how strong you are as the supervisor of Samsara Temple. How dare you challenge Heaven-Ceasing Mountain? Celestial Master Ku Xin said in a cold voice. As he finished talking, a soaring aura burst out from his body. Celestial Master Ku Xin, who had reached the level of Holy Master Exceptional Realm and was the greatest expert in Ancient Monster Clan, took action. Chapter 1076 Hero of the Battle. Chapter 1076 Hero of the Battle. Being in the exceptional realm of the Celestial Master, every one of them was a top expert in Green Fire world. Every single one of had the strength to shake the entire Green Fire world. If the mad and capable Empyrean Patriarch should be facing a Celestial Master in exceptional realm, he could only run. In the realm of Celestial Master, a small gap meant a world of difference. Right now, Celestial Master Ku Xin acted and incited a terrifying aura. The crowd gasped simultaneously. Shoo! Celestial Master Ku Xin dashed forward and then was already in front of Jian Nantian. He wore a pair of red gloves, with glowing red energy surrounding him. Moreover, a spectral image of exotic beast more than 3,000 meters high rose up behind him. The spectral image looked eccentric, demonic, and seductive. It really was that of a heavenly monster. Blood Talon. Celestial Master Ku Xin snarled and reached out his paws surrounded by red energy fast like a lightning. Splash! The world seemed to be torn apart, spatial turbulence burst out. The moment Celestial Master Ku Xin waved his palm, the giant heavenly monster spectral image attacked. It was fast and overwhelming. Jian Nantian remained indifferent. Only when the spectral image's paws approached him did he bother to brandish his sword. His move was simple and slow, but hit exactly in the center of the paw. Clang! Massive energy split like sparks. Jian Nantian shattered the blood-red paws. However, at the moment, the heavenly monster spectral image behind Celestial Master Kushin looked up. Its eyes flashed with bizarre lights, hypnotically. Illusion skill? Jian Nantian faintly smiled, remained still, and looked into the spectral image's eyes. The heavenly monster had cast a strong spell on him, but Jian Nantian felt nothing at all. Splash! A scarlet palm broke through the void in front of Jian Nantian, and was coming right at the latter's heart. Jian Nantian did not even lift a finger. However, just as the scarlet palm was about to touch him, he struck back with his long sword. Have I failed to bewitch him with my heavenly monster illusion skill? A slight trace of fear flashed in the Celestial Master's eyes. Immediately, he retracted his palm and opened his mouth. Simultaneously, the spectral image behind him opened its mouth as well. Moo! The heavenly monster let out a weird roar, rippling through the air. This time, it was a sound wave attack. The two Celestial Master in Exceptional Realm was tangled in a fierce fight. The entire world could hear them. On another battlefield, the battle between Jian Wushuang and Celestial Master Winter Whistle was drawing to an end. Explode! Jian Wushuang snarled and released the full power of the trembling Blood Mountain sword in his hand. The biggest hit, bladed surge. Bump! With a long deep sound, the remaining power hit Celestial Master Winter Whistle. The Tao Master shook with a pale face, blood gushing out from his mouth. Die! Jian Wushuang hacked with his Blood Mountain sword. His swordsmanship was in full swing. Increasingly lightning-fast sword shadows swooshed past toward Celestial Master Winter Whistle. Celestial Master Winter Whistle warded them off, but only for a few strokes. Shortly after, he was defeated back like a flowing light. When he reached the camp of the ancient demon clan, he decided to stop. The scene left many people in awe. However, quite a few of them expected this. One must know that a month before, during the supervisor's inauguration ceremony, Jian Wushuang had defeated Celestial Master Lei Yi. In terms of strength, Celestial Master Lei Yi was even more capable than Celestial Master Winter Whistle. If Jian Wushuang could beat Celestial Master Lei Yi, it was natural for him to beat Celestial Master Winter Whistle. Run! When Celestial Master Winter Whistle ran off, Jian Wushuang could not help but scorned. If a medium Celestial Master decided to run, Jian Wushuang was unable to hold them back. Then, Jian Wushuang beamed himself into another battlefield, where his slaughter body fought the silver-armored ancient god. Without blood-killing plate armor and Blood Mountain sword, his slaughter body fell short of his world body. Thus, it got engaged in a fight where it had been held down the silver-armored ancient god. However, when his world body arrived, two original bodies joined forces to leave the silver-armored ancient god nowhere to go. Bump! Breaking all resistance, a giant gold finger full of ancient god power poked at the silver-armored ancient god. Finally, the god lost all its strength and the human figure. The 9 ancient god guards spat out blood and withdrew from the battlefield. Jian Wushuang's 2 original bodies had completely defeated both Celestial Master Winter Whistle and the ancient god battle formation. In fights between Celestial Masters, usual Tao Masters don't stand a chance. Now that I've taken down 2 Celestial Masters of the ancient demon clan, I'll leave the rest to you, Father. His 2 bodies were joined into one. He stood under the sky with a long sword on his back, looking into the battle in the distance. He knew that today he merely needed to get rid of some small bumps for his father. He only needed to deal with the rest Celestial Masters and left Celestial Master Kushin to his father. His father was the hero of the battle. Buzz! A soaring killing intent rose up. A red cloud emerged on Celestial Master Kushin. At the same time, the spectral image was also covered in the cloud. Moreover, the spectral image's eyes turned scarlet as well. Then, Celestial Master Kushin moved. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. He struck for 9 times. Every blow was able to destroy a elementary Celestial Master. The 9 paws came at Jian Nantian's head at an ultra-fast speed. Still, Jian Nantian brandished his sword casually, 9 times in a row. Clang, clang, clang. The paw and sword clashed. All 9 blows of paw were warded off, during which Jen Nantien did not even move his feet. Chapter 1077, Draw the Sword. Chapter 1077, Draw the Sword. How could it be? The Celestial Master's brow knitted, he looked in shock at Jen Nantien. The observing crowd also looked serious. They had witnessed the entire fight between Celestial Master Ku Xin and Jen Nantien from the very beginning. They had witnessed the Celestial Master's skills and killing moves such as illusion attack, sound wave attack, and etc. The Celestial Master had used all his secret skills. However, no matter how many skills he had utilized, Jen Nantien stayed put and brandished his sword casually, warding off all his moves. Is he not affected by illusion attack at all? And stay unmoved facing sound wave attack? Moreover, he even dodged the best hit I've just struck. The Celestial Master looked terrible. But soon, he snorted and spoke in a deep voice. Jen Nantien, what a supervisor that has passed 9 tests from Samsara Temple. You've exceeded my expectations. In the same realm, if I meet you elsewhere, I must kill you right on the spot. However, here is my clan. I've got all the legacy of my prosperous ancient demon clan. You can't win this. Open the energy gathering formation. Hearing Celestial Master Ku Xin, on top of an ancient demon clan's towering altar, a dozen of Celestial Master's eyes flashed with excitement. Boom! A terrifying energy was released from the altar. The world seemed to be covered in the great power. Heaven and earth spiritual energy in the void was gathered rapidly from all directions. They all went in the direction of Celestial Master Ku Xin. Standing above the void, absorbing these amazing heaven and earth spiritual energy, his aura was becoming increasingly strong. At the sight of this, Jen Wushang squinted. Well, they've prepared themselves. They actually have set up such an energy-gathering formation. Jiyu King faintly smiled. In a so-called energy-gathering formation, one could gather the nearby heaven and earth spiritual energy and absorb them. Finally, they could use the power temporarily. It was a common formation in Green Fire World. If it was just a normal formation, Jen Wuxuang would have ignored it. Nevertheless, this formation was growing bigger and bigger, covering a big part of the land. With this amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy, Celestial Master Ku Xin had naturally strengthened himself. At present, his aura was stronger by 3/10. His strength also grew by the same. It might look trivial, however, in the realm of Celestial Master, even an insignificant rise would greatly increase his offensive power, speed, and etc. The Celestial Master had reached a brand new level of the battle strength. Above the void, Celestial Master Ku Xin's face looked weather-beaten. He was still covered in the red cloud. The heavenly monster spectral image behind him even expanded a little more. Jen Nantien, how about now? Ready to take my paw? Bearing an extreme confidence, he struck again. His paw was still fierce like that of an eagle, and fast like a lightning. Shrouded in the red blood, it came at Jen Nantien. At the moment he acted, the spectral image also reached out its paw. A giant scarlet paw fell from the sky. With overwhelming strength, it was about to land on Jen Nantian's head. This time, Celestial Master Ku Xin performed a paw that none of his previous ones could compare to. Nevertheless, Jen Nantien was as calm as ever. He still brandished his long sword, casually. A grand sword light shone. It was a beautiful and mind-blowing one. Swish! The giant scarlet palm actually broke into 2, massive power burst out in 4 directions. What? Celestial Master Ku Xin was shocked. He could accept the fact that Jen Nantien had taken his previous paw. However, using the energy-gathering formation to have increased his strength, he still failed to completely destroy the latter. How is this possible? We're in the same exceptional realm of the Celestial Master. Why is he? Celestial Master Ku Xin still found it unbelievable. Celestial Master Ku Xin, you've been attacking from the very beginning. Now, is it time for me to take the turns? Coldly, Jen Nantian's voice echoed in the sky. The observing crowd was stunned by Jen Nantian's words. It occurred to them that Jen Nantien had been standing in the same spot from the beginning. He had been casually warding off the Celestial Master's blows. He did not strike even once. He merely used his defensive skills, never a offensive swordsmanship. Go. Jian Nantian drew his sword. Still casually, the magnificent sword light shone again. The blow was magnificent and fast. It nearly approached Celestial Master Ku Xin in just 1 second. The Celestial Master widened his eyes and put on a serious face. At the sight of the grand sword light, red clouds rose up from his skin. Releasing his formidable aura, he lifted his palm and struck again. The giant heavenly monster spectral image caught the beautiful sword light. However, the fierce and shredding energy in the sword light burst out. Splash! The giant scarlet palm was sliced in half, even the adjoining red arms were split into 2. Though it was formed by the heaven and earth spiritual energy, Celestial Master Ku Xin still felt a pain in his palm. Then, he retraced at once. At this moment, Jian Nantian brandished his long sword one more time. The second sword light fell. This swift and violent one, like a meteor, glided over the sky and reached the Celestial Master in moments. Chapter 1078, Trump Card. Chapter 1078, Trump Card. The Celestial Master's face darkened, then he slapped forward. A towering red mountain blocked the way. Swish. However, the fierce and violent sword light sliced the mountain into 2 at once. Moreover, the sword light even penetrated the mountain to pound on the Celestial Master, pushing the latter several steps away. Then, Jian Nantian brandished his long sword one more time. This had been his 3rd strike. This time, he struck out quietly like a ghost. Although he had moved, no sword light or sword scar could be seen in the sky. The Celestial Master's countenance completely changed at the sight of Jian Nantian's blow. Having no time to think, he tried hard to dodge the blow at an ultra-fast speed. He had tried his best to move, however, he was only inches away from Jian Nantian's sword. Swish! The sword light swooshed past his right shoulder. The Celestial Master could hear sword edge piercing into his body. The strike not only pierced through him but also took down his entire right arm. Though losing his arm, the Celestial Master did not pay much attention to it. He had been possessed by a lingering fear. He knew that if he had been a little slower, if he did not swing himself, his entire body would have been sliced into 2. I was right. You did devise the strongest sword principle. Celestial Master Ku Xin covered his bleeding shoulder, energy floating around. Apparently, he was healing himself. At the same time, he looked at Jian Nantian solemnly. The crowd became excited because of the Celestial Master Ku Xin's words. The strongest sword principle? In the legend. It's no wonder Jian Nantian acted so effortless. He actually created the strongest sword principle. Shock and terror seized the crowd. Father. Even Jian Wushuang glanced at Jian Nantian. Jian Wushuang had the strongest sword heart and did want to invent the strongest sword principle as well. However, until now, he had only created 1 creation-level Dao and 2 universe-level Daos. He was far from conjuring the strongest sword principle. On the other hand, his father had succeeded. Having the body of the sword spirit, your father has been gifted in sword principle. Moreover, he's been cultivating in the secret land for more than 100,000 years. It's natural that he's succeeded in the strongest sword principle. If he hasn't been suppressed when he's weak, he would be more capable than now. Jiyu King's comments rang in Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang agreed. He had only heard about the strongest sword principle in tales. After all, compared to the creation-level Dao, it was much more powerful. Jian Nantian combined the strongest sword principle and other 2 creation-level Daos. 3 Daos were joined to create an immortal Dharma body, which was much more capable than an ordinary celestial master in exceptional realm. I didn't see it coming. The Celestial Master exclaimed regretfully. The one who was cast out by our ancient demon clan 2,000 years ago, who was deemed a shame of our bloodline, has actually invented the strongest sword principle. Moreover, you actually pushed our clan to such a plight. Since the establishment of our clan, it was only once when we've been injured like this. We have played our ultimate trump card to survive. Now, it looks like that we have to use it for the second time. The Celestial Master's words made the present experts look astounded. They had fought so violently, and yet he still held a trump card. Moreover, an ultimate trump card? What exactly was the ultimate trump card? They knew it soon. Then, Celestial Master Ku Shin sneered and thumped on the city of the ancient demon clan several times. All his thumps had been eccentric, and his eyes turned scarlet. "Let the blood spring rise." The Celestial Master shouted, and immediately, deep in the ground, a blood-curling energy rose up. It was the bloodline power, a large number of overwhelming bloodline power from under the ground. And the next moment, they surged in the Celestial Master's direction. What is that? The crowd froze at the scene. The bloodline power was too much and too powerful. Nevertheless, Celestial Master Ku Shin had actually managed to swallow all of them at once. Based on the abundant power, his aura skyrocketed again to an unprecedented level. His body expanded as well, with red clouds rolling around him. Terrifying killing intent swooshed past in all directions. His aura is so mighty. At present, Jian Wushuang put on a serious face as well because he could clearly sense the increase of the Celestial Master's aura. His aura even exceeded a Celestial Master's level. Of course, he still failed to match Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, and Dao Yuanzi. He seemed to be ranked between Celestial Master and the Supreme level. However, Jian Wushuang was positive that Celestial Master Ku Shin had tremendously increased both his aura and his strength. They do have an ultimate trump card. Ji Yu King's voice rang again. If I'm not mistaken, the immense bloodline power must have been extracted from dying experts. The ancient demon clan has lived for long on Samsara continent. There have been numerous Dao masters in their history. It was possible that they collected so much bloodline power with special methods to create a pure blood spring. The immense bloodline power has been mixed in its creation and bears hazardous substance. The Celestial Master will consume the toxic substance as well if he just swallows like that. That being said, he will indeed be much more capable temporarily. Just like now. Hearing these words, Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. He had tried directly swallowing bloodline power as well. Thus, he knew too well of the result. The hazardous attempt would immensely affect one's body. The more he swallowed, the more vulnerable he would become. Chapter 1079, Dream Chasing. Chapter 1079, Dream Chasing. Back then, Jian Wushuang had acquired King Luo Zhen's inheritance essence blood. There was also immense bloodline power in the inheritance essence blood. During the War of Tang of the East, he swallowed the drop of blood. In the end, he did win but was turned into blood fog due to the eroding of the inheritance essence blood. If he did not happen to be in the everlasting realm, he probably had already died. Although the bloodline power the Celestial Master Ku Shin had devoured was not as pure and refined as King Luo Zhen's essence blood, it still made him surge to a brand new level. We're in trouble. Jian Wushuang squinted. His father was a Celestial Master in Exceptional Realm who had developed the strongest sword principle, peerless among in Celestial Master level. But the present Celestial Master Ku Shin had become stronger to a point where he almost reached the supreme level. Jian Nantian. Celestial Master Ku Shin looked hideous with a pair of scarlet eyes. He stared at Jian Nantian. I said, "You've underestimated the ancient demon clan." Upon finishing his words, he struck again. A large, scarlet palm sailed through the air, through all matter in the world. Finally, it stopped in front of Jian Nantian. For the first time, the ever-calm Jian Nantian furrowed. When the scarlet palm was about to land on him, he fought back. Clang! Another glowing sword light was shot out. Bam! With a thunderous sound, even time seemed to stop. The scarlet palm just hovered in the void for a second, then landed overwhelmingly onto Jian Nantian. In the end, the giant hand thumped on the ground. Under the giant palm was the city of the ancient demon clan. Now, the mountains were smashed into dust. Moreover, numerous palaces were also razed to the ground. Even a few clansmen from the ancient demon clan did not dodge the palm timely and were shattered into pieces. The entire ground sank as a giant mark of palm crawled on it. The whole world fell silent. Everyone was astonished in front of the giant mark. Under the giant mark, nothing was moving. Father. Jian Wushuang's complexion slightly changed. Don't worry, your father is still alive. Ji King said abruptly. Being more sensitive to living life than anyone present, Ji King could feel a resilient life thriving under the giant palm mark. Crack. The sunken ground cracked, flicking lots of gavels. Then, an injured man came into view. At this time, Jian Nantian was covered in blood, ragged. However, though injured, he did not show any fear in his black eyes, only indifference. Moreover, his countenance stayed the same. He's still alive and just lightly injured. A look of shock escaped Celestial Master Ku Xin. The spectators marveled at it as well. One must know that the scarlet palm had been extremely mighty just now. It had been a blow fiercer than that of an ordinary Celestial Master. Normally, if not dead, the Celestial Master in Exceptional Realm at least should be badly injured. But he just appeared a little worn out, and his aura remained as strong as usual. Celestial Master Ku Xin shot out a ferocious look and emitted immense killing intent. Right at that moment, Jian Nantian looked up and fixed his pitch-black eyes on Celestial Master Ku Xin. For today, I've prepared myself for 2,100 years. Every hardship, every narrow escape, and every struggle I've endured during the 2,100 years were for today. No one stops me today. You don't stop me. Like a cocked sharp sword, Jian Nantian was about to shot through the sky. He sounded cold and spread his every word into the universe. Everyone's heart was thumping. Upon finishing his words, he raised his long sword. At that moment, it seemed that everything else had vanished, leaving the world with only Jian Nantian carrying his sword. A dreamy aura was spread in the air. With a feeling of melancholy and a state of obscurity, the unstoppable aura sailed through the air. Before his swordsmanship, the power he had collected already great impressed everyone present, including Celestial Master Ku Xin. Everyone present had sensed that Jian Nantian had extracted 8/10 of his spiritual power. One must know that being a Celestial Master in Exceptional Realm, Jian Nantian had held abundant spiritual power. If he used 8/10 of his spiritual power, then how great would that be? Did he utilize the best part of his spiritual power simply for a blow? How strong would that blow be? That blow, even Ji King, who was living inside Jian Wushuang, felt his heart skip a beat in face of Jian Nantian's spiritual power. For some reason, Ji King felt something familiar. It rang a bell with him. He seemed to have witnessed the performance of the swordsmanship. As power was accumulating in his sword, Jian Nantian murmured. Years before, I've stepped into a secret land. I saw this swordsmanship purely by chance. The swordsmanship is so profound that I spent hundreds of years to try to reproduce it. However, I've merely replicated a half of it. After that, based on the half swordsmanship I've copied, I created a new sword movement through a lot of hard work. I haven't performed it in public ever. I haven't even named it yet. Now, I'll reveal the swordsmanship. It'll help me get rid of every barrier and every enemy, just to meet Menga at heaven-ceasing peak. Therefore, I'll name it. Dream Chasing. It was named. It was invented. Its sword essence has spread. Right at the next moment, Jian Nantian brandished his sword with the mighty swordsmanship. As the name suggested, he struck out, only for reaching heaven-ceasing peak, to meet Ji Wumeng. Clang. A sword light was shot without any trace of spiritual power. Quietly, it snaked toward Celestial Master Ku Xin. Chapter 1080 Hysterical. Chapter 1080 Hysterical. Having devoured the bloodline power the ancient monster clan, Celestial Master Ku Xin's strength had reached an unprecedented high level. He has the utmost confidence in the skillfulness of his craft. However, Jian Nantian's sword had snaked near him. What? A fearful expression escaped Celestial Master Ku Xin. He could not have suppressed it because, at that moment, he feared instinctively. When he saw the silent sword, the supreme expert Sunrise Sword Emperor crossed his mind. He thought of Sunrise Sword Emperor when Jian Nantian performed the swordsmanship. How could it be? It's impossible. No, I can't believe it. Furious, Celestial Master Ku Shin screamed at the top of his lungs. His face twisted as his tremendous bloodline power surged, the heavenly monster spectral image roared behind him. Boom! The immense bloodline power took on the shape of a red giant hand once more. The hand clenched, like a falling meteor, and thumped. All of the sudden, the meteor and the sword light clashed. Swish! A low voice echoed, accompanied by a dazzling light. The seemingly quiet sword light had released its world-shattering power at this moment. The giant meteor hand was sliced into two. Having penetrated the palm, the unstoppable sword light kept sailing toward Celestial Master Ku Shin, and finally, fell on him. He had created a protection with the red clouds. Being a Celestial Master in exceptional realm, he had built himself well. Fart! Celestial Master Ku Shin spat out a mouthful of blood. His face whitened. The bloodline power he had swallowed were all pressed against his body. As a result, they started eroding and even injured the Celestial Master more. Bam! 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 Thunderous sound burst out from the Celestial Master's body. Blood gushed from his ears, nose, and eyes. He seemed to grow old in a second as he was pushed backward. Upper Elder. Seeing this, experts of Ancient Monster Clan all showed an expression of surprise. Then, Celestial Master Winter Whistle went out of his way to catch Celestial Master Ku Shin. When Celestial Master Ku Zina got back on his feet, he spat another mouthful of blood. At this moment, he was vulnerable than ever. His lost. Those experts all gasped. Celestial Master Ku Shin had tried everything, all the trump cards, and skills, from opening the energy-gathering formation to swallowing the bloodline power they had collected. He had shown a capability that greatly exceeded that of a Celestial Master. But in the end, he lost. My father's blow, Jian Wushuang could not help but widened his eyes, reflecting on the formidable blow. He knew it was called dream chasing. That strike, if I'm right, comes from an outstanding expert in the eternal chaotic world. Jiyu King suddenly came to comment. Though less formidable than the founder of Star Bloodline, King Luo Zhan, he really mastered the swordsmanship. He's created a swordsmanship of 12 styles. Your father must have been copied the first style, more preciously, the half of the first one. However, your father is gifted and has devised a new set of swordsmanship via his own understanding. He's performed 7/10 power. Moreover, being in the exceptional realm, he invented the strongest sword principle. When he goes to extreme length to perform the style, his power has already surpassed the Celestial Master level. In terms of power, your father has crushed the Jade Token with the power of Samsara Temple Master. That strike is just as powerful as that. Hearing Jiyu King, Jian Wushunag gasped in admiration. Although he had temporarily surpassed the Celestial Master level by the bloodline power, Celestial Master Ku Shin was still ranked below Samsara Temple Master. He did not actually possess the battle strength at a supreme level. But his father's swordsmanship could totally compete with that of Samsara Temple Master. It was no wonder he defeated the Celestial Master with just one strike. However, your father hasn't fully reached the supreme level yet. He's taken a lot of effort to perform the swordsmanship. In this fight, he might probably be able to do it just once. Jiyu King added. Jian Wushuang nodded. With just one strike, his father had been really formidable. Now, the fight had drawn into an end as Celestial Master Ku Shin lost the battle. Retracting his long sword, Jian Nantian even did not bother looking at his opponent. Instead, he directly cast a look forward. He was staring at a skyscraping mountain. On the peak of the mountain stood an ancient black tower. That was the very heaven-ceasing mountain. Jian Nantian clenched his fist and walked toward the towering heaven-ceasing mountain. The ancient monster clan's protective array had broken. Jian Wushuang had beaten Celestial Master Winter Whistle, and the silver-armored ancient god of the three great Celestial Masters. Even the most capable Celestial Master Ku Shin had suffered a defeat. He was badly injured, unable to fight again. No one in the ancient monster clan was able to stop him anymore. As the crowd watched, he walked toward the peak step by step. He was so close to it. Jian Nantian. The celestial master was roaring, almost hysterically. Do you think you can take her? You can't, you can't. You have no idea how important she is. She's treasured by us, and by the entire Greenfire world. We won't allow you, Greenfire Palace and Greenfire World won't allow you either. You can't take her. He was roaring hysterically, everyone turned their head and frowned. None of them could make sense of his words. On the other hand, Jen Nantien stopped, turned around, and faintly smiled. If I can be with her, so what if Greenfire World, even the eternal chaotic world turns against me? Chapter 1081 Meeting in the Soul-Crushing Pagoda. Chapter 1081 Meeting in the Soul-Crushing Pagoda. If I can be with her, so what if Greenfire World, even the eternal chaotic world turns against me? Jen Nantian's words spread through the sky. The observing crowd was stunned hearing him. They could feel his courage in the words. Jen Nantien kept going toward the heaven-ceasing mountain. The celestial master's face whitened. He had tried every means but in vain. He failed to stop the determined Jen Nantien. Finally, Jen Nantien reached the foot of the mountain. A restriction was set around the mountain foot, which was impossible for any ordinary celestial master to went through. Jen Nantien crossed through easily. Jen Nantien twisted his one hand, casually as ever. An ethereal sword light was shot and landed on the restriction, which was torn apart just in moments. Behind the restriction, the entire mountain revealed itself to Jen Nantien. Well, Jen Nantien raised his head. He stared at the ancient black tower in the distance. That's Soul-Crushing Pagoda? Ji King recognized it. What is that? A doubt escaped Jen Wushuang. The Soul-Crushing Pagoda contains 18 trials that test a person's soul. And it gets harder with the increase of the level. Soul-Crushing Pagoda is not something extraordinary in the eternal chaotic world. But in Greenfire World, it's rather challenging, and your mother must have been prisoned in it. Your father has to pass 18 tests, I wonder if he can make it. Test a person's soul? Jen Wushuang vaguely smiled. If they were tests in other things, Jen Wushuang might worry. However, when it came to the soul, since living in the ancient world, his father had been known for bearing a strong mental attitude. Now, he must have had a much stronger heart. Despite the difficulty, Jen Wushuang believed that his father would succeed. Before the mountain, Jen Nantien paused for a while, and then, he stepped into Soul-Crushing Pagoda. The crowd all stared at Soul-Crushing Pagoda to sense Jen Nantian's aura. At present time, Jen Nantien had stepped into level 1. A few moments later, he reached level 2. His crossed through level 1. Fists clenched, Jen Wushuang looked delighted. Not so soon. It gets hard with the increase of the level. Level 1 is easy, any celestial master can cross it. And from level 2 to level 10 test, one can easily pass them as well. But the 11th level is really hard. Ji King continued. As Ji King had expected, Jen Nantien spent little time in the first 9 levels. He passed them effortlessly. Even in level 10, he did not linger and kept his usual pace. However, when he entered 11th level, he slowed down. He had spent several minutes before he crossed through 11th level. And he stopped at level 12 for 1/4. When he finally made it to 18th level, the early half of the day had passed. The 18th level is the hardest. Even in the eternal chaotic world, 1 out of 100 celestial masters in exceptional realm may fail the test. Ji King sounded solemn. Jen Wushuang looked grave as well. Those experts all waited in silence. 3 days, Jen Nantien stayed at 18th level for 3 days. Then, the crowd sensed his aura had moved from 18th level to the highest level, 19th level. His past. Hearing this, Jen Wushuang clasped his hands. He actually spent only 3 days. Ji King was impressed. Even well prepared, a celestial master in exceptional realm will usually spend half a month or even more. Your father actually spent 3 days only. He really bears a strong mental attitude. I've told you. My father's mental attitude is strong. Jen Wushuang laughed. As expected, his mother had been imprisoned at 19th level in Soul-Crushing Pagoda. Since Jian Nantian had stepped into that level, it meant they had met. In the empty space at 19th level of soul-crushing pagoda, a chained blue-robed woman sat on a stone-built bed. She looked haggard and worried. She knew it was the day Jian Nantian and Jian Wushuang went to challenge the ancient monster clan, but she could not know the result, being imprisoned in this soul-crushing pagoda. Nantian, Shuang'er. You must survive, you have to survive. She could only pray in her heart. At that time, she heard heavy footsteps. What? The blue-robed woman suddenly raised her head. She had been captured here for more than 2,000 years. Never had she seen another human being during the long years. Even when her master Celestial Master Ku Xin talked to her, she could only hear his voices. She was really surprised when she heard the footsteps. That person actually entered the highest level in soul-crushing pagoda. She stared at the entrance. Hearing the footsteps approaching for a while, finally, she saw a figure in black appeared. She was stunned, seeing the figure. For more than 2,000 years, though she was cut off from the world, she still thought of the figure dressed in black time and time again. After all these years, she missed it even more. She thought that, in the rest of her life, she would never see him again. However, he appeared in front of her again. Am I dreaming? The blue-robed woman murmured in disbelief. Seeing the woman, Jian Nantian's indifference was gone. He was trembling. He looked at the blue-robed woman, eyes tranquil like a sea. His heart was almost melting. In the empty space at 19th level of soul-crushing pagoda, they looked at each other. After a long while, Jian Nantian finally scratched his head, laughed like a kid, and said, Menga, we're going home. Chapter 1082, 5 People in the Void. Chapter 1082, 5 People in the Void. Menga, we're going home. His words made the blue-robed woman, Ji Wuming, tremble. However, there was something in her eyes. She did not respond immediately. He seemed to sense the latter's worries, walked toward Jian Nantian, and held her hands. I knew it, your responsibility, from your master. Don't worry, I'll take it for you. If I fail, there's still Shuang'er. He's a tough boy now. Ji Wuming froze and then smiled. I see. Ji Wuming responded and walked side by side with Jian Nantian toward the door. Jian Nantian had released her from the cuffs. Outside the heaven-ceasing mountain, numerous experts were waiting for a result. Soon, 2 figures emerged from soul-crushing pagoda. They held each other's hands and walked side by side as if they had walked out from a fairy tale. Is that Jian Nantian's wife, Jian Wushuang's mother? She looks normal, nothing special. Why has she been kept in heaven-ceasing mountain for so many years? The observing experts were all in doubt. But soon, they knew why. Experts and clansmen of the ancient monster clan all gawked at the sight of Ji Wuming. Is that powerful bloodline aura? She's much more powerful than Ancestor Ku Xin, much more than any of our clansmen. We actually have a clansman whose bloodline is so pure. Who is she? Why haven't I seen her? Ji Wuming's existence had remained a secret, even in the ancient monster clan. Ordinary experts were not able to see her at all. Those who heard about her only knew that she was trapped at Heaven-Ceasing Peak, but failed to know why and her deep secrets. Now, Ji Wuming had finally shown up. Every ancient monster clan clansman felt a fear from the bottom of their heart. This kind of fear purely came from their bloodline. It was like a normal copper-armored ancient god standing in front of a real imperial god. Bearing a heavenly monster bloodline, all the ancient monster clansmen thought they were watching their king at the sight of Ji Wuming. What a supreme bloodline level! Despite the clansmen's shock, Celestial Master Ku Xin's face paled. He looked up, not in the direction of Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming, but to a void in the distance. Why? Why don't you stop him? Do you really want Jian Nantian to take my protégé and waste her bloodline? What do you want? Roaring in his heart, Celestial Master Ku Xin looked angry and shocked. In the direction Celestial Master Ku Xin was looking at, 5 figures hovered. The 5 people just stood there without any restriction or other methods. Under normal circumstance, as long as the experts present looked up, they would see. Nevertheless, never had they noticed the group of 5. They were a group of 4 men and a woman. All of their auras look ethereal and hard to grasp. At that moment, all 5 of them felt the fury and grudge in Celestial Master Kushin's eyes. The only woman in the group broke the silence. So we just watch him and do nothing? Do you forget how important Ji Wumeng's bloodline is to our Greenfire Palace? Remember the price we pay to have her receive the inheritance and reincarnate. Now, if Jian Nantian takes her away, all of our efforts will be in vain. A trace of killing intent was detected in the graceful woman's voice. Her rousing words stirred the rest 4. They frowned with dismay. They indeed had paid a high price for Ji Wumeng's bloodline. Samsara, you're Jian Nantian's master, why don't tell us what to do? The black-robed woman said in a low voice. Samsara was a stout man wearing black armor, with a black horn on his forehead. He stood there without emitting any aura, but still looked formidable. He was the very overlord on this Samsara continent, Samsara Temple Master, and he was also Jian Nantian's master. I know too well of my own disciple. Starting from the ancient world, he had gone through a lot of hardship for Ji Wumeng. He's paid too much all these years. All those hardships have failed to stop him, now, no one can. Samsara Temple Master looked calm. When I received him as my personal disciple, I've told him everything about Ji Wumeng. He knows how important she is to our Greenfire Palace, even to the entire Greenfire world. But, he did it anyway, that means he's confident. Confident. He's being selfish. The black-robed woman snorted. He's doing it for himself. He puts the entire Greenfire world at stake. Samsara, what a great disciple you've received. I know too well of my own disciple. No matter what you say, I believe he had a plan. Samsara Temple Master said indifferently with his arms folded. The black-robed woman could not argue anymore. Then, she looked at an old gold-robed elder beside her. The gold-robed elder grew a cinnabar mole between his eyebrows. Tang Emperor, what do you think? The black-robed woman asked. Tang Emperor just smiled and answered, Ji Wumeng does have extraordinary bloodline and will be of great benefit to Greenfire Palace. But I also believe that Jian Nantian will help us too. Ridiculous. The black-robed woman jeered. It's indeed incredible that Jian Nantian devised the strongest sword principle in such a short time. Nevertheless, he's been suppressed when he's young. He won't amount to anything great, at most, he'll be like us. How will he match Ji Wumeng? If Jian Nantian isn't enough, how about adding Jian Wushuang? Tang Emperor teased. The black-robed woman was in a daze. Jian Wushuang? Chapter 1083, Took a Stand. Chapter 1083, Took a Stand. The 5 people present were from the Greenfire Palace. Moreover, they were also the rulers who enjoyed the highest status and were most influential in the Greenfire Palace. In other words, they were the decision-makers of the Greenfire Palace. They were very clear about the role Ji Wumeng played in the Greenfire Palace. Jian Nantian alone couldn't rival her. But if one more person, Jian Wushuang, was added. I am Jian Wushuang's grandmaster and favor him a lot. His potential is much greater than that of Jian Nantian. If he grows up, he might be stronger than Ji Wumeng. Tang Emperor said smilingly. I admit what you have said is true. However, you should know better than anyone the risks of the cultivation method that boy has cultivated. After all, Emperor Qing is a good example. As an inverse cultivator, it's difficult for him to grow up. The black-robed woman snorted. Although she was not an inverse cultivator, she knew something about that. After hearing the woman's words, Tang Emperor's face fell. Indeed, few inverse cultivators survived. His best disciple, Emperor Qing, did not survive the inverse cultivation. In any case, I always think it's absolutely worthwhile to exchange Ji Wumeng with Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian, Tang Emperor stated. If this is the case, we'd better declare where we stand. I'll do it right now, do you agree with me? The black-robed woman looked around at the 4 people. I don't. Tang Emperor took a stand first. I believe in my disciple, so I don't agree with you. Samsara Temple Master replied. Haha, Jian Wushuang is indeed excellent. As far as I know, he still has an extraordinary master. Nonetheless, Ji Wuming means a lot to our Green Fire Palace. After weighing up the pros and cons, I choose to remain neutral. The white-robed elder who grew a goat beard said smilingly. He was the overlord of the Void Continent, the Void Temple Master. Sunrise, it's your turn. The black-robed woman looked at the indifferent man with a long sword on his back. The indifferent man appeared to have integrated with heaven and earth, and the space around him was transformed into a sharp sword. He was the universally acknowledged #1 sword cultivator in the Green Fire world, Sunrise Sword Emperor. I don't agree with you either. Sunrise Sword Emperor said indifferently. What? The black-robed woman marveled at his response. She got the impression that Sunrise Sword Emperor was always selfless and practical. As long as Ji Wuming followed their plan as she cultivated, her strength was destined to reach that stage. Though Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian had great potential, no one could tell what their future would be. Given Sunrise Sword Emperor's way of handling matters, he should be on her side. Unexpectedly, he disagreed with her. Like father, like son. Both Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian are obstinate. Once they set the goal, they will achieve it tenaciously regardless of the consequences. Knowing that there are hardships ahead, they choose to ignore them and will never be swayed by them. They are real sword cultivators. I am the #1 in the Green Fire world on sword principle and haven't met a well-matched opponent for years. Both of them are qualified to be my opponent, and I believe they will not let me down. Sunrise Sword Emperor smiled and glanced at the black-robed woman. Red Lotus, I know your concern and grievance. After all, you paid the greatest price for the inheritance that Ji Wuming attained. But you should believe that talented people appear in every generation. I will wait then. If the father and son don't live up to your expectations, I'll see how you guys will do then. The black-robed woman snorted and disappeared from this void with a quick move. After that, Void Temple Master, Tang Emperor, and Sunrise Sword Emperor also left. While leaving, Tang Emperor said to Samsara Temple Master, since the Samsara continent is your territory, we'll leave those nobodies for you to eliminate. Samsara Temple Master forced out a wry smile and left the next moment. In the void not far from the habitat of the ancient monster clan, a few figures in black gathered there. 4 black-robed men assembled in the ancient monster clan and fixed their eyes on Ji Wuming. With special methods, they figured out that Ji Wuming possessed the heavenly monster bloodline. How pure her bloodline is. I believe the purity of her bloodline is the only one of its kind in the ancient monster clan. We were fooled by the ancient monster clan and the Green Fire Palace previously. The leader of the 4 people said coldly, we always thought that the one who obtained that inheritance is Dao Master 9 Sword. After all, the ancient monster clan treats him like a treasure. Furthermore, he had reincarnated once. Coupled with that he rarely went out of the ancient monster clan, we were certain about our speculation and even planned to assassinate him. But now it seems that the one who gained that inheritance is the woman in front of us. Dao Master 9 Sword is merely a deceptive puppet designed by the ancient monster clan and the Green Fire Palace. The one who really threatens us is this woman who has been imprisoned in the heaven-ceasing mountain. Be quick, immediately report this message to our monarch. The leader shouted out, and just as he prepared to send the message, a bulky man suddenly appeared in front of them. Wearing a black armor, the man stared at them with bulging eyes. The 4 black-robed men shook and were seized with terror. As they prepared to transmit the message, they discovered that the space they were in had been sealed completely, not knowing when. This resulted in them being unable to deliver the message. Samsara Temple Master. The leader of the black-robed men let out a sad and shrill cry. In the next moment, Samsara Temple Master waved his hand. He did that casually, but like a black mass of cloud, his palm covered the 4 black-robed men completely. After 4 loud bangs, they turned into blood fog. With a flick of his sleeve, Samsara Temple Master dissipated the blood fog. A group of cowards. Samsara Temple Master snorted and then left directly. This void calmed down again. Nobody knew that 4 genuine Tao masters were just killed by Samsara temple master here. Chapter 1084, Invitation. Chapter 1084, Invitation. No one knew what had happened in that void, including Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and other people present. Inside the ancient monster clan, Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming came up to Jian Wushuang slowly, hand in hand. Is she my mother? Jian Wushuang stared at the blue-robed woman, thinking, how pure and noble her bloodline is. I believe such a bloodline is rarely seen even in the entire eternal chaotic world. Ji King muttered to himself. Just in a moment, Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming stopped in front of Jian Wushuang. A strange expression crossed Jian Wushuang's face, but soon he reacted to this. He said hurriedly, paying respects to you, my mother. You are Shuang'er? Ji Wuming looked at Jian Wushuang with an expression of pleasant surprise. You really have grown up. Of course. He didn't know how to walk when you left. Jian Nantian chimed in. Father, mother, we'd better leave here first. Jian Wushuang proposed. Yes. Jian Nantian nodded and grasped Ji Wuming's hand tightly. Menger, let's go home. Fine, go home. Ji Wuming agreed happily. And the three left. No one came out to stop them. Many experts in the ancient monster clan, including Celestial Master Ku Xin, showed the slightest inclination to stop them. Their departure brought down the curtain on this collision. Jian Nantian and Jian Wushuang succeeded in rescuing Ji Wuming and took her away, while the ancient monster clan paid a heavy price but still failed to stop them. There existed a lake in a quiet bamboo forest on the divine monster territory. A handsome cyan-robed man and a blue-robed woman leaned close to each other in a mid-lake pavilion. They whispered, laughing now and then. At the edge of the lake, Jian Wushuang held a weed in his mouth and leaned against a pillar. After witnessing the scene in the mid-lake pavilion, he smiled and thought, I haven't seen my father look so happy for a long time. To be precise, I have never seen him smile so happily since I was born. He understood all this. Since his birth, his mother was separated from his father and him. Later, Zhu Xiu captured her to the Samsara continent. His mother and father harbored a deep feeling to each other, but they could not stay together over the past 2,000 years. No one would feel happy about that. Today, they met again and even could be together forever. That surely was a happy event. My mother came back and my father is no longer high-strung. I'm a lot more relaxed. Jian Wushuang beamed. Knowing that his father had become a reincarnator and his mother's whereabouts was a mystery, he was under great pressure. Now, however, the pressure dissipated. The only one he was worried about was Lung Rushuang. Shuang'er. When thinking of Lung Rushuang, he could not help but clench his fists. Jian Wushuang, stop thinking about that. You cannot find your loved one with your current strength. You might as well think of a way to improve your strength. That's what you should do now. Ji King's voice sounded. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. Moreover, your mother possesses an extraordinary bloodline and she must shoulder a lot. Ji King added. My father is finally reunited with her and they can't be separated again. Jian Wushuang's eye emanated cold light. I'll shoulder everything for her. Ji King sighed with feeling but did not utter a word anymore. Just at this moment, a figure floated gently down from the distant horizon like a leaf. And soon, he landed in front of Jian Wushuang. Hey! Jian Wushuang looked at the man before him. It was a red-haired elder with a smiling face who looked quite gentle. Given the aura he gave off, Jian Wushuang could tell that he was a celestial master. My name is Yu Ding, the red-haired elder said smilingly. Jian Wushuang knitted his brows. He had never heard of a celestial master named Yu Ding. I haven't appeared in the green fire world for a long time. So, it's normal that you don't know me. Celestial Master Yu Ding added, I came here for one thing, hand this token to you. I hope you can take it. After finishing speaking, he waved his hand and threw a token to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's expression changed after he received that token and glanced at it. There were 3 words on the token. Green Fire Palace. You are from the Green Fire Palace? Jian Wushuang asked. Exactly. Celestial Master Yu Ding nodded. I received an order to invite you to join our palace. Join your palace? Jian Wushuang's face turned solemn. He had heard about the Green Fire Palace long ago, and he was aware that it was the gathering place for experts in the Green Fire world, and it represented the entire Green Fire world. Furthermore, only celestial masters and the rulers of some powerful forces in the Green Fire world would receive its invitation. Although he was not a celestial master, his battle strength was equivalent to that of a celestial master. Thus, he did not feel surprised to receive its invitation. Well, would you like to join us? Celestial Master Yu Ding asked smilingly. I'm in. Jian Wushuang agreed without thinking too much. He perceived the Green Fire Palace's nature and significance. Most important of all, his father Jian Nantian, mother Ji Wuming, Tang Emperor from Tang of the East, and Emperor Qing were all members of the Green Fire Palace. His close relatives, as well as people who had an intimate relationship with him, chose to join the Green Fire Palace. He, without exception, would do the same thing. Since you have agreed with that, would you like to go to the Green Fire Palace with me now? Celestial Master Yu Ding asked, laughing. Now? Jian Wushuang frowned. Celestial Master Yu Ding. A voice without emotion rang out. Jian Nantian and Ji Wuming came up to them from the mid-lake pavilion shoulder to shoulder. Celestial Master Nan, I hope you are well. Celestial Master Yu Ding greeted Jian Nantian. Apparently, they knew each other before. Jian Nantian nodded and came to Jian Wushuang's side. Shuang'er, you are born in the Green Fire world and you should protect this world. The Green Fire Palace is where you can serve the Green Fire world. Just go. Jian Nantian said. What about you? Asked Jian Wushuang. I am just reunited with your mother and don't plan to go to the Green Fire Palace for the time being. We decide to return to the ancient world and have a look at our hometown. We will come back after some time. After all, you and I must shoulder the responsibility for your mother, Jian Nantian said earnestly. I see. You two just need to have fun together. I'll handle the rest. Jian Wushuang smiled. He went to the Green Fire Palace with Celestial Master Yu Ding at once. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,